Question 4. Consumer. The latest Connolly report suggests that Ogsonfrey's prepackaged meals are virtually devoid of nutritional value. But the Connolly report is commissioned by Danto Foods, Ogsonfrey's largest corporate rival, and early drafts of the report are submitted for approval to Danto Foods' Public Relations Department. Because of the obvious bias of this report, it is clear that Ogsonfrey's prepackaged meals really are nutritious. Alright, so first step, argument of facts. Clearly we have an argument. It is clear, our structural indicator, so our conclusion is that Ogsonfrey's prepackaged meals really are nutritious. And how do we know that these prepackaged meals really are nutritious? Well, the Connolly report suggested that they were virtually devoid of nutritional value. But this report was commissioned by Danto Foods, Ogsonfrey's largest corporate rival, and the early drafts of the report are submitted for approval to Danto Foods' Public Relations Department. So clearly there's a bias in this report. It was commissioned by Danto Foods, Ogsonfrey's largest corporate rival. So the consumer takes this bias to conclude not that we can question the accuracy of the Connolly's report on Ogsonfrey's prepackaged meals, but rather that Ogsonfrey's prepackaged meals really are nutritious. So again, these are the premises, basically that the report is biased, that showed that they were devoid of nutritional value, therefore the prepackaged meals are nutritious. Clearly, this is a flawed argument. The correct conclusion would be that one could question the accuracy of the Connolly report's findings because they are clearly biased. But one cannot take that evidence of bias to conclude the opposite, that they are really nutritious, right? This would be equivalent to me saying Philip Morris did a study showing that nicotine is not addictive, but clearly Philip Morris has a financial interest in making such a claim, therefore nicotine is addictive. You notice that is flawed logic. I could say that we could question the accuracy of Philip Morris's study, but we cannot jump to the opposite of what the findings show. And in this case, the findings showed that it was virtually devoid of nutritional value. I take a bias to conclude that the meals really are nutritious. So going to the question stem, the reasoning in the consumer's argument is most vulnerable to criticism on the grounds that the argument most vulnerable to criticism. So this is an errors of reasoning question, asking us to identify the flaw in the argument. So let's take a look at A. Treats evidence that there is an apparent bias as evidence that the Connolly report's claims are false. And you notice that A is exactly what we talked about. It takes the bias to conclude not that the Connolly report's claims could be questioned, but rather that they are false, devoid of nutritional value, to conclude that the meals really are nutritious, obviously saying that it's false, that they are virtually devoid of nutritional value. So A here would be the correct answer. However, let's quickly check the remaining answer choices. B draws a conclusion based solely on an unrepresentative sample of Ogsonfrey's products. And you notice that doesn't apply because both our conclusion and our evidence, the support, right, the premise, are about Ogsonfrey's prepackaged meals. So it is not based on an unrepresentative sample. The report was about prepackaged meals. Our conclusion was about prepackaged meals, so B is out. Moving to C, fails to take into account the possibility that Ogsonfrey has just as much motivation to create negative publicity for Danto as Danto has to create negative publicity for Ogsonfrey. Again, completely irrelevant. This is not about what Ogsonfrey has a motivation to do or not to do. It's about taking this study commissioned by Ogsonfrey's largest corporate rival and conclude that what it finds about Ogssenfrey's products is actually untrue. So C is out. D fails to provide evidence that Danto Foods' prepackaged meals are not more nutritious than Ogssenfrey's are. And true, it does fail to provide evidence that Danto Foods' prepackaged meals are not more nutritious than Ogssenfrey's are, but that's not a flaw in logic. This conclusion is not about Danto Foods, it's about Ogssenfrey's products, so D does not apply. And then lastly, checking E, presumes, without providing justification, that Danto Foods' public relations department would not approve a draft of a report that was hostile to Danto Foods' products. And E clearly doesn't apply. The consumer does not do that, so E would be eliminated. Again, A, exactly what we saw here. Just because Philip Morris does a study that shows nicotine is not addictive doesn't mean I can take that to conclude that nicotine is addictive.